So if you're a freelance photographer, videographer, graphic designer, blogger, gig economy worker, it really doesn't matter. Today, I'm going to be talking about the basics that you're going to need to attain business credit. Now, this is specifically going to be going out to my people who plan on creating an LLC and setting up a structure around their business, because this is where you're going to get the most bang for your buck in the long term. And so in this video, I'm going to be giving you the steps that you need to position yourself so this way you can get access to credit cards, business lines of credit, or even bank loans. But before we even start to consider getting different types of business credit, okay, we got to make sure that we have our LLC set up and structured properly so that way we can get access to as much credit and vendors out there as possible. Let's just jump into it. Okay guys, so in today's video, I'm just going to be listing out all of the things that you're going to need when you're setting up your LLC to make sure that you're in the best position to be able to get access to business credit, different types of credit, whether it be revolving credit cards, whether it's vendor accounts, whatever the case may be, bank loans, business lines of credit, which are going to come on, later on down the road. But the first things first is you're going to want to make sure that you're positioned the correct way. Now, setting up an LLC is super simple. It's relatively cheap. And as a result, a lot of people take setting it up for granted. And so I'm going to be listing out all the things that you're going to need when you're setting up your LLC. Some of these things you're going to have to pay for. Some of them are completely free. But these are the things you're going to have to need before you start applying for business credit. Okay, so first off, I'm just going to start by listing the things that you need. And then later, I'm going to give you the steps in which order you should get these things, because you're going to want to get them in a particular order. So this way, you have it done and set up right the first time. You don't have to go back making a bunch of changes, which could cost you a couple dollars. It's not going to be super expensive, but it can save you some time and some money down the road. So kicking off these things first in no particular order, the first thing that you're going to want to do is make sure that the name of the LLC that you are choosing is available. Most times you can just go online, whether you're using something like a LegalZoom or you're going through your state. A lot of times they give you an option to search the name. In that search, you can, check it out, see is the name that you want available. And that's the first things that you're going to want to do. The second thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to register your business with the Secretary of State. Now, like I said before, you can have a company like InkFile or LegalZoom do this step for you relatively cheap, or you can do it directly yourself by going to the Secretary of State on the website. And, usually they let you fill it out online. Maybe they'll have you do some paperwork like that you got to physically send in. But nowadays you can fill it out online. A lot of times you can get it done all within the same day. Depending on what state you're in, it might take you a couple of days and is relatively inexpensive. Once again, depending on what state you're in. Now, the third thing that you're going to want to do is get an EIN number. EIN numbers are completely free. They stand for Employer Identification Number. Think about an EIN number as the same way you would think about a Social Security number for yourself. An EIN number is basically just a Social Security number for your business. To get them, it's completely free, and all you have to do is go onto the IRS website, search EIN, and you can get it right then and there, completely free, on the same day, super easy. The fourth thing that you're going to want to do is get an NAICS code. Now, this is basically the code that is going to identify to different lenders out there or, different entities out there what type of industry you are in. So is that transportation? Is that graphic design? Is that consulting? Is that real estate? There's a bunch of different codes out there. Usually when you're registering your code, they give you a list that you can choose from. So you want to choose something that fits your business as best as possible, but you also want it to be a low risk industry. And I'll explain that later on down the road. The next thing that you're going to want to do is get a business phone number. Now, there's a bunch of different cheap and inexpensive options out there on getting a business phone number. The one thing I would say is that you don't want to get a Google phone number, because you're going to want to list yourself in national directories. And these directories, a lot of times, don't accept Google numbers. The next thing that you want to consider is getting an address for your business. Now, keep in mind that you can use your personal home address, but that's also going to be in public records. Maybe you don't want your address out there. But for the most part, okay, you're going to want to get a commercial address, right? You want it to be, like a legit business address, not a home address, not a residential address, okay? No PO boxes, no UPS stores, nothing like that. You want to get a business address. This doesn't mean that you have to go out and rent a space. You can basically get a virtual business. There's a bunch of different services online that, give you this option to have a virtual address or a virtual office where you can get mail sent to, and you can list that on your paperwork. Now, the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get a website. Now, keep in mind, this is in no particular order, okay? Maybe you already been in business and you're now starting to create an LLC. You already had a website up and running. Maybe you're starting a new business, okay? Whatever the case may be, you want to make sure that you have a website, preferably that is your business name. But if not, you want to just kind of be creative and getting as close to that name as possible. The next thing that you're going to want to do is get something that's called a DUNS number. That's D-U-N-S, DUNS number. Now, the DUNS number is representative of Dun & Bradstreet. Basically, they're a credit reporting bureau, right? They're like, how you have on your personal side, Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. Well, Dun & Bradstreet is that for business credit, okay? And so, your business has an EIN, right, which is its social security number. So now it's its own little entity, okay? And it's going to have a credit report, and you're going to want to get a DUNS number. Now, getting a DUNS number is completely free. All you have to do is go to their website, sign up, register, put in all your business information, and within a couple of days, they will assign you a DUNS number. The next thing that you're going to want to do, which is a super important step, and I see a lot of people miss this, is you're going to want to get a business bank account, okay? You're going to want to make sure that you have a bank account where your business is running its money through, paying for its expenses, bringing in its income, okay? Because the name of the game is that now you have an LLC, okay? You want to be completely separate, right? You should have a business bank account, a separate bank account, okay? And with the business bank account, now that you have an EIN for your business, okay, that business can have its own bank account. That business can own its own assets. Remember, his business now has its own personal social security number. So you're going to want to make sure you get a business bank account as well. Now, one of the next things that you're going to want to make sure that you have is a custom business email, okay? You want to have a legit business email, okay? Your name or info or help me or whatever at yourdomainsname.com, okay? You don't want to have your business name at Gmail, at Yahoo. It doesn't look professional. It doesn't look like you're established, okay? You want to have a custom professional business email address. And then one of the last things that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to list your business with 411, Google, Bing, Yelp, all those different directories out there. The reason that you want to do this is because when you go and you start applying for business credit, a lot of these credit vendors, they're going to be checking you out. They're going to be checking out your website. They're going to be checking out your phone number. They're going to be, seeing if, Googling, seeing if you are an actual legit business. So you want to make sure that after you have all these other things in place, that you go out there and you list your business in all the different directories. Now, that was a lot of steps. And here's the thing. Setting up an LLC is super easy, okay? But you want to make sure that you set it up the right way. And so I just gave you a list of items that you want to have in place when you're setting up your LLC. But now I'm going to go through the particular order in which you want to set them up. So this way it saves you time and money and puts you in position in the long run. So the first thing that you're really going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that the name is available. Before you even register, before you even buy a domain, or even if you already have a domain, you want to make sure that the LLC name is available. Now, here's the caveat to that. The name of your LLC, even if it isn't available, you can name it something generic, right? You can name it like, 123 Holding Company, okay? It doesn't have to be, whatever your service is LLC. The reason being is because you can get what's called a DBA, which means that you're basically doing business as. So let's just say, for example, you have a photography company, but your LLC is called Smith Family Holdings, and then you can have a DBA that's called Smith Family Photography. Okay, and so now, you can have that as your company name out there, but really it's just a variation of the same company. Okay, you're just doing business as under a different name, so it's staying on brand, but your LLC name is something completely different. So now that you know the name is available, the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get an address. Okay, I would take this step before I file any paperwork with the Secretary of State. The reason being is because when you put your address on that paperwork, okay, that's the address that they're going to take. So if you don't want to use your personal address, you want to make sure that you go out and you secure a business address first, because that address is going to be used on your paperwork when you're filing with the Secretary of State and you're incorporating your business. Now, there's a couple different options out there. You probably want to Google something. I'll leave some links below, but make sure that this is one of the first steps you do, okay? Before you even file any paperwork, you want to get a business address. The next thing that you want to do is you want to get a business phone number, okay? Same thing. Before you file any paperwork, you're going to want to get a business address, and you're going to want to get a business phone number, because once again, the address and the phone number are going to go on the paperwork when you're registering with the Secretary of State. So you don't want to start off by putting your own personal information and then having to go back and change it and do all these forms, and it might cost you a couple of dollars. Now, yes, you're going to have to pay for a virtual address. Yes, you're going to have to pay for a phone number. There are different options out there. Like I said, don't get a Google Voice number, because later on you're going to have to list yourself in these national directories, and oftentimes they reject Google numbers. So make sure that you get the address first, then the phone number. Try to get an option that's as cheap as possible or within your budget, and then go to the next step, which is going to be registering with the Secretary of State. So on this step, you're registering with the Secretary of State. Now, like I said, you can do this through your own personal, state websites, or you can go through something like an InkFile or a LegalZoom. These are pretty easy options, but regardless of whatever option you use, whether you do it yourself or whether you have a service, make sure you do those other steps first. Make sure you have the address in place. Make sure you have the phone number in place, because when you go to register with the Secretary of State and put all this information on file, that's what you're going to want to have. After you register, the next step that you're going to want to take is you're going to want to get an EIN. Remember, that's your employer identification number. Long story short, it's your social security number for your business, okay? Now that you registered, all that information is going to go with your EIN. So you want to make sure you do those things first, then go and get the EIN number. After you have your EIN number, you're going to want to get your NAICS code, which is basically going to be the code that identifies what industry your business is in. Then the very next step is you're going to want to get a business bank account. Once you have all your documents in place, once you have, once you're filed with the state, you got your articles of organization, okay? You got your EIN, you got your NAICS code, okay? At that point, you're going to want to get a business bank account. Now, it's very important that you get a business bank account, because it establishes your funds that go through the business, okay? And it keeps the expenses of your business separate from that of your personal, okay? Because if you have an LLC, a lot of times you're just trying to separate the liability between you and your business. But if you're commingling funds, okay, you're running money into your personal account and paying things out of your personal account, then essentially you're going to do what they call as piercing the corporate veil. And basically, if something were to ever happen, and somebody were to ever sue you for whatever reason, it could be anything, but essentially there would be no separation between you and the business, because you're running everything out of your personal bank account. Now, and after you have all of those things in place, then you want to go ahead and apply for your DUNS number. That's your Dun & Bradstreet number. Remember, it's your credit report for the business side. There's a couple other creditors or credit reporting bureaus out there. There's Experian Business, there's Equifax Commercial, or whatever the case, a few of them out there. But you want to get your DUNS number. It's completely free. The Experian and the Equifax, those will generate on their own as you begin to build up a business credit profile. And the very last thing that you're going to want to do once you have all of your information in place is you're going to want to list yourself onto different directories, okay? So that's going to be 411, That's going to be Google. That's going to be Bing. That's going to be Yelp. That's going to be Yahoo. Okay, you just want to put yourself out there as much as possible. Now that everything's the same, you can put that same information out there to all those different directories. You want to make sure it's consistent as possible across the board, spelling and everything else, because when you start to go and apply for business credit, they're going to be checking these things, okay? And so if there's an inconsistency over here and over there and over here, okay, they're going to be like, you're flagged. We don't know what's going on with this person. So you want to make sure that you have all your information as consistent as possible. But now that all these things are in place, okay, now you can go out there, you can start applying for business credit, whether that be with vendors, whether that's with banks, okay, applying for bank credit cards or whatever the case may be, okay, you got all your information in place, you're set up, you're in position, and now you can start to build up your business credit profile. Now, I know I said a lot in that video, but hopefully it was helpful and it was useful. And if so, give me a like, drop me a comment, and let me know where are you at right now on your creative journey. And for all my people out there who are trying to build a life on their terms and get it how they live, this is your man, Jonathan Moore, and I'm signing out. Peace.